Nablus, where a massacre has taken place there, 10 killed, over 100 injured. Jamal Bukim is a professor of international relations at the Lebanese University who joins us from Beirut. Jamal Bukim, welcome. Taking a look at what has happened, it is
Thank you.
quite alarming, um, not only in terms of the death toll, but in terms of the reason why Israel has given, which is now a common recurrence, unfortunately, of targeting not only this particular area, Nablus, and the camp there, but also Jenin refugee camp. Last month, same number of deaths. It was said to be the worst since the year 2005, and now we're seeing a repeat. Why are we looking at such an increase in terms of Israeli aggression against the Palestinians?
There are two main reasons for this. The first reason is that Benjamin Netanyahu has allied himself to the far right-wing groups in order to win the elections, the latest elections, and he promised them to give them free hand in managing the affairs of the occupied territories. Uh, and on the other hand, there is also this political crisis inside the Zionist entity, where, as we witnessed, like five legislative elections in the past few years. So there is a split within the political elite, the Zionist political elite. There is political instability, and they are trying to export this crisis towards leading or waging a wave of violence against the Palestinians, mainly the civilians, the Palestinian civilians.
But when you have all these factors working against you, I mean, you have on the one hand what they're doing with these raids, which is a continuation, really, if you want to really take a look at it, it's a continuation of their some call ethnic cleansing of Palestinians and aggression against
Yes,
Palestinians overall. So you have that on the one hand. You have, as you mentioned, the internal political crisis, and then you have things like how they loosened up these permits for guns for settlers in particular, so they can so more settlers can have guns and more people,
yes.
Israelis, can have guns. When you have all these different factors pulling against this far right extreme cabinet, doesn't that lead to Israel being on such an unstable ground that it might just fall apart in a sense?
This is, I believe, this is an eventuality because the Palestinians are left with no hope. They are being subjugated to violence, to occupation, they have been stripped of their rights at all. That's why the Palestinians will go more and more to armed resistance, especially inside the West Bank. And this is something that the Zionists know. And that's why they think that by waging this wave of violence against the Palestinians, they can repel them, they can avert them from resisting the occupation. But I believe that the Palestinian resistance will further rise with a new generation leading the fight for national rights, for armed struggle. And this will lead to the rise of a new generation of leaders at the expense of the deteriorating traditional Palestinian leadership represented by the PLO and the Palestinian Authority that is collaborating with the Zionist occupation.
And finally, and quickly, I know this is speculation, but what if Israel even increased its pressure, increased its aggression, and its attacks even more? As we're seeing, it's increased. Do you think that you're going to see then more Palestinians come out, and perhaps then have the resistance factions also join in, and therefore we're looking at, if you want to, you can call it whatever you want, an intifada, but basically this confrontation that will be of a higher level than we've seen before?
Well, I believe so because violence engenders more violence from the other side. And the resistance, the Palestinian resistance, has always been, since a century, has always been a reaction to the Zionist occupation and to the Zionist violence. And I believe that the latest wave of violence by the Zionist government and the Zionist extremists will further encourage the Palestinians to react to this violence, by armed struggle, and this is something that has been also supported by some Palestinian resistance groups and by the axis of resistance in the region as a whole. So we shouldn't forget the fact that many non-Palestinian resistance groups have talked about the necessity of arming the West Bank, and the supreme leader of Iran, of the Islamic Revolution, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, talked about the necessity of arming the West Bank and encouraging and supporting the Palestinian resistance in the West Bank. So I believe that we are on the verge of the rise of a new intifada, of a new resistance movements in the West Bank this time, and the resistance will no longer be confined to Gaza Strip. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, Jamal Wakim,
My
Professor of
pleasure.
International Relations at Lebanese University. Thank you.